Welcome back, everybody, to the Gurus. No X tonight, but I am your host for tonight, Mike Testa. I am joined by Gurus co-host Theo. Theo, let's get right into it tonight. Episode 2 of Survivor 50. Not a 3-hour premiere episode, so we won't be, talking about the entirety of the show tonight. But still a pretty good episode. Pretty good episode 2, hour and a half episode. A lot of stuff happened. We can kind of go tribe by tribe to kind of format it well for tonight's episode. Let's start with Sela, though, Theo. Sela, the Sela tribe, the Orange tribe, a lot happened on their beach today. We can start with Christian Hubicki. I mean, it would not the best start of the episode for him for reasons that we won't get into, but overall it did pick up for Christian. He is able to find, and we now have obviously confirmed information now that this Billie Irish boomerang idol that I know X and I talked about this on our 10 questions buy or sell video. Is there more than one Billie Eilish boomerang idol? Well, we can confirm there now is on every beach, it looks like, because it is on the Sela beach as well, as Christian Hubicki is able to find that boomerang idol. Overall, what were your thoughts on him just kind of walking and talking about Joe's game and then just stumbling upon the idol like that?
I mean, this was just another episode I thought dominated by Christian Hubicki. If you ask me who's getting this winner's edit right now, it really looks like it's Christian. And then the way he stumbled into that idol, his reaction was perfect. And we could talk about what he did with the idol.
Yeah. No, it's actually a good point because we saw Genevieve last week's episode. I know we didn't talk about it, Theo, but you saw Genevieve will it to Ozzy, which was kind of funny because obviously she doesn't know what's happening on that beach, but Ozzy is on Christian's beach. So theoretically, she could have willed it to Christian and he would have seen the boomerang idol already. But ironically enough, he wills it back to Genevieve's beach. But yeah, so he chooses to will it to Aubrey. What did you make of this move? Because initially watching it live, Theo, I was like, okay, who is Christian close with on other tribes? Because we know they split up the David versus Goliath trio. So I was like, okay, Angelina's on the on the Vatu beach. Mike White is on the Colo beach. Could he give it to one of his David versus Goliath mates and help them out maybe? Or does he want to be devious and kind of put it on somebody that might get voted out with the idol in their pocket? He makes an interesting point here of, I want somebody who's going to be discreet about the idol and who's going to be very loud and open about the idol. And he almost is like, imagine if I give it to Angelina. Angelina would be such a loudmouth with the idol. She probably would, make a scene like she did in David versus Goliath. But ultimately, he gives it to Aubrey, who it feels like was kind of on the outs of that tribe, Vatu. What did you make of him giving it to Aubrey?
Yeah, my first thought was I kind of wish he gave it to someone more fun. No offense, Aubrey. But then thinking about it from a strategical standpoint, I don't see how her current standing in the tribe, it seems like she's going to need to play this idol in order to get through. So it puts Christian in a great spot because either she's going to get voted out and he'll get the idol back, or she'll stay in the game because of him and she'll get to a point where they're on the same beach and she doesn't really have allies and she'll be like, oh, this is something that can connect me to Christian. So I think it was a really good strategic play.
That's actually a good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that because I thought maybe, is he using this to work with her in the future? If so, I didn't actually think about that. I was like, okay, is he trying to build an ally at the merge or at a tribe swap, which we'll get into later, with an Aubrey? Because that would be an interesting dynamic. I initially thought he was trying to put it on somebody who's already a big target, which Aubrey is, obviously. And then with Kyle out, it's like she's even a bigger target now. So I thought of him okay, does he want to give it to Aubrey in a hope that she gets voted out immediately and he gets it right back? But I also thought, you make a good point, though, because she's on the outs, doesn't it feel like she would use it immediately just to save herself? At this point, with the votes lost, with her not having a true number one ally, at least not right now. And another interesting point, last time she played Edge of Extinction, she got voted out with an idol in her pocket. Wouldn't she now be more aware to not make that same mistake is what I would think. So for Christian's point of view, I actually think his chances of getting this idol back, I would probably say, are diminished because I think Aubrey should, in my mind at least, use this idol and save herself if she's on the outs, which we perceive that she might be.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't think there's any way she's getting through to the merge on this Vatu tribe without using that idol.
Right, exactly right. So that means he would probably not get that idol back unless she is duped another time and gets voted out with the idol in her pocket, or unless she goes to a tribe swap and then the numbers are what they are. So there's still a chance. But I thought it was an interesting decision to give it to her. Would you have given it to somebody else on that beach or even on Colo's beach?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think maybe like a Mike White in terms of an alliance purpose, but
Right.
then you might not want to give him power and that's someone that is going to have win equity. You almost don't want to give them an idol and set them up to make a move that they can then potentially brag about at the end of the game. So it's a tough. These boomerang idols are tough. I'm not sure what the right move is, and you're doing it
Yeah.
with such little information about what's going on the other beaches. So I thought the decision that Christian made, I thought was a good one.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have the known information of like past seasons of boomerang idols and how they work. So you almost have to think, like you said, like 10 steps ahead. And it's impossible to do that with such little information that we have already. So I thought, considering all the information he had, give it to Aubrey. What's there to lose there? If she gets voted out, you have it in your pocket. If she uses it to her advantage, you can link up and say, hey, I was one who gave you that. Maybe work some goodwill. But something else that happened on Sela, Theo, was Devins and Joe had a bit of a scuffle. It was kind of building up before the challenges even started, and then obviously after the challenges. But Devins he's kind of pushed back on how Joe plays the game, which we obviously have talked about at length. But they're honestly total opposite players. Like Devins is all about chaos. We'll get into later what he does at Tribal Council. And then Joe is all about honor and integrity, not much chaos. Like I want everything here. His game is more built on trust. And Devins like immediately breaks his trust with the water well situation, with like the whispering with Savannah. It wasn't that big of a deal, I didn't think, but then it turned into a big deal when he confronted it about him with the water well, which I didn't love Joe doing that personally. I'm a Joe guy, but I didn't love just kind of like bombarding him with that question at the water well. But then you see Devins kind of freeze up and he's like, doesn't really know how to respond. It's kind of an awkward response and he's caught in a lie, which is not the worst. I mean, again, lying on Survivor, not a big deal. It happens. You're not gonna go to jail for it. But he is caught in a lie, and then Joe confronts Savannah about it. It's this big thing. What did you make of the Devins Joe? We'll call it a scuffle, if you will, and how that almost dictated the vote.
Yeah, that's because this is something we talked about on the pre-show. Is how on Joe's first season he changed the entire tenor of the season, where like the pillars of the game changed from like outwit, outplay, outlast to this like honor integrity game, and it flipped on him at the end. But he did control the game and kind of get everyone to play like him. So
Yeah.
we were discussing like, is he going to be able to do that with this cast? And after this episode, that's an emphatic no. Like nobody wants to do that. These are people that have played before, and they want to play the way they did before. They don't want to play the way that Joe plays.
Yeah, it's actually a great point that you brought up because I thought on a returnee season, like, would he be able to play the same game? Probably not. But I didn't think he had to change too much about his game. Like, I thought the overall person that was Joe, like his social standing was good. I just thought, and I talked about this with X, I thought his paranoia in episode 1, I didn't love. Like, he immediately saw Ozzy and Sari talking, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's a big duo, dangerous duo. And then today, like, just the whispers at camp, which, again, whispers are going to happen at camp. He got really jumpy on that. I'm not faulting Joe for, reacting the way he did to Devins, kind of lying, because that does show that you really can't trust Devins, which is not, I mean, you shouldn't trust Devins. That's a guy that, I mean, I picked him number 1 overall because he's so unpredictable. But, for Joe's, that's not really Joe's game. Joe doesn't want to work with someone who's unpredictable and that's chaotic. So it's like they immediately did not have trust to even stand on initially. But you did, to your point, you see even Christian, even Sari and Emily, they're like, we got to do this like Joe-tation thing where we have to like kind of mediate to Joe. We have to work around Joe almost. Like we want him as a number, but we don't want to work directly with Joe. Like they were even talking about leaving him out of a vote, Theo, which was like, that would be like signals that you're not working together. Like that would be like, we are not trusting to even let you in on a vote. So that told me right there, it's like, is this alliance even that strong? And that actually made me feel better about Ozzy and Sari, who we'll get into next. But what did you make of them having to kind of work around Joe?
Well, I was going to ask you, like, who does Joe have to work with on this beach? Like, is it nobody at this point?
I thought Savannah was like really big with Joe. Like she was coming to him with stuff. I thought maybe he could get in with that, but it didn't look like he wanted to pursue that very much. Like it looked like he was initially like, pro Jenna, who's now gone. He was like, we got to get Sari out after the first time. I don't know who he's working with. You're right. It's almost like he wants to be in with the Christian and Emily Devins thing, but he doesn't trust Devin, so that probably won't work. I don't know, because even today, Theo, they brought up a foursome. They were like, hey, we want to include you, Joe, in this Power 4 alliance, but it was kind of like, it wasn't explained to him how a normal Power 4 alliance comes. It was like behind his back, Savannah was like, oh yeah, I wanted to rope you in with a 4. I thought Devins would bring it up to you, but he didn't. So there's already mistrust within that 4. And from Devin's point of view, he's already in a tight 3. So it's like you're just kind of like overlapping alliances, and that's going to be really difficult. So yeah, I don't know who Joe's working with per se, but it looks like now it's, I don't know.
I guess, like, I feel like it's the only way he's like getting involved in something, I guess, is if Sari and Ozzy want to make a move with the extra vote and with the idol,
That's
and
true.
they pull Joe in and then try to blindside like a Devins or a Christian, which
Yeah.
doesn't. There's been nothing we've seen in the
Not
first 2
yet.
episodes say that that's imminent, but I
Right.
mean, we know how Suri operates.
We know how Suri operates, and that's something that would be imminent for her game later on. Like, she would want to keep Joe around as a possible, like, if there's mistrust in that group, can I use that? And now Suri has an advantage for the first time in what feels like forever. So let's get to the Ozzy Suri pairing, because they had another interesting episode today. It was, you saw obviously some heat on Ozzy, which, there was some heat on Ozzy in episode 1. It's like, hey, getting Ozzy out is a big move. It feels like less heat is on Suri now because Suri's already working. Like, she tied it from the edit. It seemed like she's working more with Christian. Like, she's showing conversations with Christian. She sat down and talked to Emily. They weighed out some pros and cons pre and post challenge that they ended up losing the challenge. But what did we make of Suri and Ozzy's episode and their kind of ability to shift the target from one person to another?
Yeah, I mean, Ozzy found a really good person to play with for Suri. Like, she complements his game really well. She was able to deflect the target off of him in a way that I'm not sure he would have been able to do by himself. So I thought that was big for him. And then he's solidifying it by bringing advantages back to this alliance. So I've really enjoyed watching them play together.
Yeah, I said this after the episode's over. I said, I don't think Ozzy survives that vote without, like, if he's on a beach, if he's on a tribe that does not have Suri on it, and
He's
people are
done.
pushing Ozzy's name, I don't think anyone could have just easily swayed the names off of Ozzy. Like, she was able to just kind of be like, what about Savannah? She's a winner. She got this weird thing on the journey. And then it's just like everyone's ears perked up. They're like, oh, yeah, that's actually a pretty good point. Maybe we should look at her more after. And then Joe obviously creating some drama. She was able to just kind of just immediately shift the target off of Ozzy pretty subtly. And I don't think Ozzy could have done it by himself. I think you're right. This is a pairing that really benefits him a lot. And then, like you said with Suri, now Suri has an advantage for the first time in this game in her like 5 times playing. It feels like she's got an actual, because she doesn't find idols. She doesn't, she's not this great immunity challenge player, extra votes, steal a votes. Like, that's not really Suri's game. I mean, she had one with Sarah Lucina, but that was given to her and it was given back. So yeah, it's great for Suri too, because Ozzy's the one like getting all these advantages. He's got the idol that he didn't necessarily find, but like he's kind of looted up with some jewelry, and he's giving Suri the ability to kind of make the strategic calls that they need to do, because it's not really his game. And even Suri mentioned it, and Emily Flippin mentioned it. Ozzy's social game not really there. Like, he's kind of having conversations with the same people. Suri's able to kind of branch out to every kind of person, and that really helps their twosome.
Yeah, because if they make a move, she'll get to make the call, but I think in the moment it'll look like it was Ozzy's move. So it'll elevate his target in the moment while like subtly being her move that she might be able to take credit for later. So
Right. The blood on the hands will probably go on Ozzy, even though it's Suri. And Savannah even mentioned it. She's like, man, Suri's a crafty player. Like, I see what she's doing. She's trying to get us to pivot to Joe when we were all looking at Ozzy, and she did it really subtly. Yeah, what else happened on this beach? So Savannah, we'll talk about Savannah now,
yeah.
because she had an episode. She had a really interesting episode a bunch of different ways. We talked briefly on our TikTok short that blew up, and Savannah actually commented on it about this move that she made of not telling anyone about her block a vote. And you weren't in the video, but you mentioned it to us on our text thread. You're like, the block a vote isn't that big of an advantage for somebody who's kind of like not in with a specific group. She's kind of like a lone survivor player here. She's not really, no one really trusts her because it's only day 4 or 5, I guess, in their game, and she just played a week or two ago. So no one really trusts her yet fully. And the block a vote is really not necessary when you're playing like in the middle, which it looked like she was kind of in the middle of 2 different, parts of the beach. It was like the nerds with Emily and Christian and Devins, and then you have the Ozzy Suri pairing, and then obviously have Joe, and then Savannah. I feel like they were in the middle almost. And a block of it, I don't think is that important, and you mentioned it. So what did we make of Savannah's episode? Again, doubling down on not telling anybody about that advantage, because again, Devins confronted her about the advantage. He's like, yeah, it's just not a believable story.
Yeah, I think that was her downfall. Like, I think there will be some talk that this was a tribe where there was a lot of pre-gaming going on, and she didn't really get to pre-game because she came right from 49. But I think like she had a chance with that advantage to talk about that and build up some goodwill in the tribe. And she didn't do that. And I think that ended up being her unraveling in the game. Because if she had just said she had a block a vote, like who knows, like maybe there would have been someone that would have tried to flip that vote onto Joe, or like, so maybe something could have happened, but she kind of just became like the easy vote between the bickering parties. And I think they, like you said, like when you lie about an advantage, I think people's heads start to think like that this could be a crazy good advantage. But like, it was really just a block of votes. So I think lying about it even just elevated her threat level in a way it didn't need to, and it kind of isolated her socially. So I think it kind of sunk her whole game.
Yeah, she was already a target for having won, and coming back to back and playing again. And then her lying, again, it's not like lying is the the downfall of everybody in Survivor. But I thought you make a good point. Had she brought this up to Devins and said, "Hey, Devins, I have a block of vote. I only want you to know it." Could Devins have then maybe flipped the vote on to Joe? Because Devins and Joe are kind of already on shaky grounds. Maybe Devins just said, "Hey, the devil I know is better than the devil I don't know. I don't know Savannah's game. Savannah's lying right to my face. Joe is an easy person to read. We know his game, and
Yeah.
while we don't have trust, I'd rather not have trust with Joe than not have trust with Savannah and not knowing what she has on that island. Because like you said, maybe in their minds, and perception is everything in this game. Maybe they thought it was like a steal a vote or safety at the next tribal. I don't know. We could have thought anything at this point in time, and it wouldn't have been far fetched. But because it was the unknown of her advantage on top of the unknown of her overall gameplay, which no one's seen, that heightened her already large threat level. And it's like, you can't leave a winner in. So I guess Joe's bickering overall wasn't that important in the grand scheme of the episode.
The third unknown too is this is an unknown season with unknown advantages that people don't know how they work. So yeah, the three unknowns there. I would have been very concerned.
It could have been a Billie Eilish boomerang eye, which no one has seen before prior to season 50. So it could have been an advantage that quite literally nobody has any information about. So yeah, that unknown maybe was the biggest downfall. And that's why, I don't think X and I either had any issue with her lying about the advantage, but it was the lie that didn't make any sense. It was like, hey, I just got to keep my vote. It's like, 90-something% of the time, you get something on these journeys. We've had 10 seasons now of journeys to know it's like, okay, you probably won something, some kind of advantage that maybe it won't, marinate until later on in the game, but it's probably not just keeping your vote.
Yeah, you really we're supposed to believe the fans voted for someone to go on a journey and just play for their vote. Come on, the fans aren't voting for that.
It doesn't sound realistic. And Devins, kind of he whiffed that right away. It's like maybe on a new era season you can kind of get that past somebody, but with all returnees in a season of unknown things, I think people were easily able to sniff that out. But moving on to Kalo. Some things happened on this beach. First of all, let's talk about Charlie. Charlie didn't even make the episode. It's like you got another invisible edit. What's happening to our guy Charlie not really making the screen? I think he had one confessional today?
Yeah, I mean, I was excited to see him play. He went high in our draft, and yeah, we just haven't seen anything from him. So you wonder if they're building him up. Is this a sneaky edit that's going to come out of nowhere, or is he just really not going to factor into this game?
Right, a little bit of an invisible edit so far. If he is the winner, they're not showing him to us right now early on. They are showing us a lot of Coach, though, Theo. We got a lot of Coach today. I think the two biggest talking points today with Coach was, A, he kind of had a cramping situation in the water, kind of spearfishing with Jonathan. And then the other big thing with Coach was he had that scuffle with Ozzy at the reward challenge. I think we're on opposite sides. I mean, I know, first of all, I love Coach as well, but I know we're all kind of team Coach, me, you, and X. I'm also team Ozzy, though. I'm in both camps. So I want to hear your analysis on this Ozzy versus Coach thing. It's kind of carryover from episode 1 of that supply challenge thing. I didn't think either guy was in the wrong. I thought both guys felt justified in what they thought. But then it came back up at the reward challenge today. What did you make of that Ozzy versus Coach thing?
I just think it's great television, and this is why you bring the old players back. Conflict is great for reality TV. We haven't had a lot of conflict in this new era, but you bring back Coach and Ozzy, and we got conflict back, and I've been enjoying it. And I don't think, yeah, I think this is still building up. I think we're just gonna get more moments out of this.
We're not at the climax yet. We're not at the climax. I love past beef. This is why I love returnee seasons, like you said, because we have things that have boiled over from South Pacific, which was 27 seasons ago, I think. That's awesome for me. And reality TV, it's we have these guys on our screen again for the first time in a long time. Coach has not played since South Pacific, and I thought it was interesting that Coach said, you and Q made that pact. I never really said anything. And then Q and Ozzy are like, man. Or more so Ozzy. Ozzy was like, I don't think that challenge ever gets finished if it wasn't for me doing the entire thing. So I get Ozzy not being excited about losing that challenge because he kind of did. I mean, he was out to a huge lead. He, again, did get it off the rope. But again, Coach made no such deal. But I like that Ozzy pointed out, it's like, hey, you're playing the exact way you played on South Pacific. It's like we kind of know how each other we know how each other's games are at this point. But I just love the overall beef of it all, of them two going at it. And you can see both tribes. It was like we had popcorn. It's like Dee's face was like, oh my gosh, they're going at it. Camilla was like, it's just funny. It's good television, I think, to see past beef coming to the table now on something that was so not that big of a deal. It was a supplies challenge for pots and pans. It was good, but it wasn't a make or break thing on the season. But it feels like that could make or break those two players' games if they are able to be on a tribe swap on the same beach, how that affects their strategic game.
And because they are returners, I feel like no one, everyone's kind of like being like, haha, like this is funny. Where if they weren't like that, like they're like, oh, that's Coach, like that's Ozzy. Where if they were newer players, like arguing across tribes before a challenge, like there might be people in the tribe, they're like, I don't know, we can't trust this guy. He's like kind of a loose cannon.
Yeah.
But both those two guys are so established in our lives, and all the players are just like, yep, that's what they're gonna do. Like we're not going to
Yeah.
make a big deal out of this. Like,
no, it's like brushed aside because if that was, again, like you said, a new era player, like if Rizzo and Emily Flippin were going at it, they'd be like, oh, Rizzo, loose cannon, gotta get him out. He's, but because like everybody knows Ozzy and Coach at this point, like they get a pass. It's like, okay, they're talking, amongst tribal lines here, but they're so well garnered in this game. It's like, that'll be something that comes out ahead later. Like that'll be it's almost like foreshadowing to something that will be like this Coach versus Ozzy thing. They're building it up for something more. Like the supplies thing was not like the climax of their beef. Like South Pacific was probably the climax of their beef. This is just like a, you talk about prequels. This is like a sequel to, more Ozzy versus Coach stuff. And I can't wait to see how it unfolds. But more from the Colo Beach, Jonathan is just dominating these challenges. I mean, this was, Jeff made a point of like, oh, good work in the water there by Jonathan, even Mike White, I would say. Like, Mike White looks good in these challenges. Theo, Camilla was the one who sat out in this challenge for Colo, who was up a number on each of these tribes. She sat out and she was like, man, look at Mike White. Look at those abs. Like, look at him just wheeze through the balance being like it was nothing. I think this Colo tribe looks really strong physically on these challenges. I think you agree. But, I mean, if Mike White is your weakest contestant and he's, six-packed out, whipping through these challenges, and then Jonathan he could probably do the whole thing by himself, Theo, right?
Yeah, that was my takeaway. I mean, sometimes people get ripped, they start to look good physically, but it doesn't like translate. Mike White, it's translating. Like he was dominant in that reward challenge to the point where I'm like, like I could kind of see him winning an individual immunity like at the end of this game. Like he's obviously very smart. So if he can like fly through obstacle courses now and get the puzzles, yeah, I think that's something he can add to his game now.
I didn't think that going into this. I thought
no.
If you like that right there was not on my bingo card. I would have been like, okay, Mike White socially, strategically, he can make some inroads. But if it's like a final 5, if it's a final 4, can he win that immunity challenge and like dictate things? I'm in your boat now. I'm like, man, this guy looks like he's, you don't get in shape for nothing. Like he wasn't like inept at challenges in David vs. Goliath, but he was the old guy on the beach. He was kind of, wasn't carrying the biggest weight, we could say. I mean, his tribe with Angelina and Nick and Lirsa and Natalie, famously, that tribe was really bad. Like physically, they were not very good. They lost both of their tribals before the merge. But in this season, he's not looking like a cupcake. He's not a walkover by any means. Like he looks better with age. He's aging better in these challenges. If it is like you said, like a final 6, final 5, and he needs to kind of like dig out an immunity win, I would not put it past him to win one because like you said, he's already been performing well in these challenges, and these feel like long, tribal challenges. If it's like an individual thing, it's like a puzzle or it's like a quick kind of thing, like he could absolutely steal one of these. But like you mentioned, and then Jonathan as well. Jonathan's just dominating these challenges. Colo looks like a really, really strong tribe. But back at Camp Life, Theo, we didn't get too much from Camp Life other than, Coach is cramping up in the water, which, I mean, did you make anything of that? I mean, he just, it's old age. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Get some coconut water in him. He'll be all right.
He'll be all right. Not everyone can spearfish like Jonathan. But either way, back at Camp Life, though, like you said, our guy Charlie was kind of invisible. Tiffany was kind of invisible this episode. We did get some Chrissy versus D stuff. Episode 1, you saw Chrissy really pushing D's name. It's like, hey, guys, D is a winner. D is dangerous. She told Jonathan this. She told Coach. I believe she told Mike White as well, but she was kind of pushing D's name. This episode, you saw D kind of pushing Chrissy's name. Not more so of like she's dangerous, but just because she's like the mother of the tribe and D doesn't like that. D's like, she's almost too motherly, bossing people around, stuff like that. I think she brought it up to Charlie. It's like, she's kind of pushing people the wrong way. And, Charlie even mentions like, I'm in team Chrissy. I want to work with an older woman like I did on my season. But, it feels like she's pushing the wrong buttons here. Do you think that that's like maybe a foreshadowing to possibly a Chrissy and D coming at a tribe swap maybe later on in the game or something like that? It doesn't look like Colo's going to lose any challenges.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
So it might not matter. Is the Chrissy being too much of a motherly person on this tribe, is that going to be rubbing people the wrong way possibly that might get her voted out?
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of split right now. Like some people are getting, like you said, Charlie's getting along with her. So I don't know. It's something to monitor as the season goes on. Like I think those two, like that, they would be trying to push votes on it against each other if they were to lose an immunity challenge, but they're probably not going to be losing any immunity challenges.
Right.
So
And we know later on that there might be a tribe swap coming. So might not matter, but it's maybe something to monitor. We don't have enough information. Like you said, there's not enough. We didn't get enough of Kalo strategic talk today to really have any idea of where everyone's head is at right there. I don't think we got a single Tiffany confessional, if I'm not
mm,
mistaken.
mm.
Camilla, I don't think we got too much of her today. And like you said, Charlie, we kind of just got him like laughing around, and it was kind of like one of those episodes. It was like a joking on the beach. Camp life is good. We're winning challenges kind of thing with Kalo. So nothing too danger to monitor, but we'll see on that beach. But to Vatu, which I think the most interesting episode was Vatu's beach. I mean, we kind of start off that beach of like the aftermath of Kyle's exit, right? So obviously Kyle gets medevaced. Aubrey's in tears. Genevieve is in tears. Q is kind of by himself saying, how do we recover from this? Kyle's last words were, one of us has to win it. The first thing we see, though, Theo, is kind of Q now has to rope in Rizzo because I don't think he really valued much of Rizzo on the beach prior to this. But now with Kyle out, he needs a new kind of, wingman. He's already got Colby. He's got Stephanie and Genevieve in that power four. But like you said, two people in that foursome alliance are without votes. So Colby has no vote because of the journey. And then obviously Q lost his vote because he sold it away. So he obviously tells this to Rizzo, kind of fills him in. What did you make of him pulling in Rizzo to this already kind of packed foursome alliance?
Yeah, I think it puts Rizzo in a really good spot. He's now going to be getting the most information out of anyone on this tribe because I thought he was already in good with a couple of the Vatu women, and then Colby and Q were looking around like we don't have a vote. Like who can we talk to? Oh, we kind of like Rizzo. Like maybe Rizzo will help us. So like Rizzo is now kind of the power broker on this island, which I love that for our guy.
Yeah, no, Rizzo's in a much better position now than he was like just 2 days ago because when Kyle was there, they felt like Kyle was the one getting all the information. But yeah, and we mentioned this, X and I in our buy and low thing or buy or sell, we said, okay, Kyle's departure has to help somebody. It has to hurt somebody, obviously. It probably hurt Genevieve. But that was like her number one this game. It felt like I said it helped Q's game the most because I thought Q, and I didn't put him as my, stock up from that tribe just because he did lose his vote. But I thought other than him losing his vote, I'm like, there's no way if they lose a challenge, they'll vote out Q because you can't, after losing Kyle, lose your other most physical, strong male in that tribe. Like, it just wouldn't make any sense. So I thought Q was in a good spot. Again, he doesn't have his vote, but I didn't think his vote would be that important because I didn't think he was specifically in danger if they were to lose a challenge. But I kind of underestimated how much it impacted Rizzo's game. Like, he's now the one that's getting information. Like, in episode 1, you saw Genevieve and Stephanie were like they were being very discreet and hiding the idol from Rizzo who was walking up behind him. Like maybe now, if they can rope Rizzo in, he's not left out of that kind of thing. But overall, there was also a rift to that camp, which you saw. Well, early on, you actually saw Genevieve is now playing a little bit. I don't know if reckless is the right word, but she's being very aggressive early on now. Lost Kyle, and she is dead set. She is gung ho on the fact that Aubrey has some kind of advantage in her bag, and she wants everyone to look in Aubrey's bag. What did you make of the bag searching? Colby put it like, hey, if you look at someone's bag in the real world, that's going to get you in trouble. But in Survivor, all bets are off. Did you like the bag search from Genevieve's point of view?
She got everyone to go along with it, but I thought it was really early in the game to do something that aggressive. Like maybe at least wait till you lose an immunity challenge. Like that was just very aggressive, very early. So well, I like Genevieve, but that I don't know.
Well, actually, great point. Had they lost the immunity challenge and she looked at it then, she would have seen Aubrey had something in her bag. Now, when she did look, Aubrey had nothing. But like you mentioned, if they waited a little bit longer, like I thought, bag searching on day 4 and 5 is a little early for my liking. Heck, it's even early if before you lose a challenge at all. Like they have not even had to go to tribal council yet. So like you said, had they waited a little bit longer, they didn't lose the challenge. So it doesn't really matter. But had they waited like a day or two later, she would have seen something in Aubrey's bag because, and we talk about from the other point of view now, Aubrey does get the boomerang idol willed to her from Christian. So we talked about it from Christian's point of view. From Aubrey's point of view, what is she supposed to do with this? Because it felt like for us, she was on the outs. And she probably still is.
It was everyone on the tribe going through her bag. Like it wasn't one alliance. Like she's pretty ostracized now on this island. But now she has power in the game. So right,
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, what could she do with this? Because obviously she's the only one who knows about it. do you foresee her telling anybody? Like, can she really trust anyone enough to actually tell somebody, or will it backfire on her? Because remember, she obviously went home with an idol in her pocket in Edge of Extinction. So it would actually behoove her to be more, you know, like she should play it even more so now. Like she should be like the alarm bell should be going off in her head, wouldn't you think? And like, and really, should she be telling people about it, or should she keep it all to herself? But she doesn't have the numbers though. The
What
issue is like,
she's closer to having numbers than she knows or thinks
right,
because Q and
the vote.
Colby don't have a vote. It's going to come down to a 3 versus 2. So she would only need to flip 2 people. The question is she going to be able to obtain that information?
And does she know who to swing? Does she know who's in the swing vote positions? Does she know that there's a power four that's been formed? Does she know that people lost their votes? Can she get all the information? Like you said, Rizzo's the one that has that information right now.
Yeah.
Like he's able to link up with Aubrey and kind of display this information to her. She now has idols and information at her disposal. Then she can make the right read. But right now, it feels like, okay, it's interesting because, like you said, it's like, I kind of wish Kristen wielded somebody more fun, but this could be fun if Aubrey has the right people at her side to kind of shift the game, because it does feel like she's a little bit ostracized. And right now, okay, maybe an idol save her for one tribal, but can she get in with somebody? And the first tribal is really the most important because Q and Colby, like you said, are without votes. So that's the tribe to do something, to make a move. You can't just be like, oh, I saved myself, I'm good now, because the next tribal, obviously, Colby and Q would have votes. So what she does with that idol is interesting. Should she tell anybody, and who should she try to swing to her side if she can?
Yeah, I mean, you would want to tell Rizzo, and you would want to win Rizzo over. I think is the way to go, just because the position he's in, the information he has. I don't know if she'd be able to, but I don't know. Rizzo, like he loves playing Survivor, so I think even just the idea of like using that idol to blindside someone, like his eyes might light up.
I'm with you there. I thought maybe, with Angelina and Rizzo always being by the camp, kind of talking amongst themselves, not doing a lot of tribe work, that kind of, like, I thought maybe that was a perfect time for Aubrey to kind of jump in and be like, hey, let's strategize while Q and Stephanie and Colby are gathering, shelter stuff. But let's get to the challenge, Theo, because we both said off podcast, off air here, Colby, whoa. Like, he looked really, really good. He looked good in the reward challenge. I know they lost the reward challenge, but he kind of got him like a little bit back into it. The immunity challenge, Theo, they were not looking good in the first stages of this game. It was like they were going off. They were struggling in the little 2-person relay thing where you have to carry the snake. Jonathan was whipping through this thing. Everyone on the other 2 tribes were doing really well. Vatu was really struggling until Colby for Vatu. It's like look at him. He was kind of like taking over during that latter stage of that relay part. I think he was carrying it with Stephanie or Aubrey. I don't know exactly, but he was kind of doing the whole thing himself, it felt like. And he was able to kind of get them back into this challenge. What did you make of Colby? And then obviously at the end with the snake maze, you had Genevieve and Angelina and Rizzo really getting Vatu the win. Like they ended up coming in first place and winning the challenge, and they were behind prior to Colby's kind of heroics.
Yeah, what did James say about Colby and Heroes versus Villains? Like he was like, I feel like
Suit?
Superman's wearing a fat suit or something. Like he actually looked like Superman and not Superman in a fat suit. So
it was a little bit of Australian Outback Colby, a little bit, maybe just like I don't know. It came out. I saw a little bit of Australian Outback Colby at like age 51.
Yeah, he's having a way better showing, just in general, than Heroes versus Villains, both socially and in terms of the challenges.
No, easily. I mean, I thought, the one challenge Colby didn't do good in was a game of Jenga. Okay, well, it is what it is. Like, but I mean, he was really good. And I thought both of the reward challenges and then this immunity challenge, I thought he really got them back in the challenge and then in the lead. Like, credit to the snake maze puzzle they did at the end there. Genevieve and Rizzo, really good job. Angelina, kind of again invisible in this edit, but she helped him win that challenge as well. But Colby got him back into it. And you're right, that looked like Superman today. That looked a little bit like Australian Outback Colby, who we saw, 24 years ago. I mean, that was crazy to say that, but it's like we're having a little bit of an old guy redemption arc here. So credit to Colby, who already, like you said, through 2 episodes, better in challenges than he was in Heroes versus Villains. All 37 days he was out there. Better socially, like people are talking to Colby and they want to work with Colby right now, which is really, really good. He's in on these conversations, which he wasn't really in on all the conversations early on in the Heroes tribe in Heroes versus Villains. He was kind of ostracized with Tom and JT and Stephanie. It was that James, Rupert, Amanda, Candace alliance that was working against him. But he's had a really good showing through 2 episodes. I think we both agree with that. Yeah, but again, with Colby, they win the challenge. Vatu wins. Sela goes back to Tribal Council. We'll go back to Sela here because this is kind of where the episode gets really going here. We have after the immunity challenge, we have Joe and Devins again with a little bit of a rift where it's like they come at a halt. Joe does not like Devins' mistrust. Devins does not like Joe's mistrust. Going into tribal council, who did you think was on the hot seat? Did you think Joe was sinking his own ship here? Because I was getting really worried for my guy here. If he was like, oh my gosh, is Joe gonna be the second boot and the third person out of this game because of just his lack of his honestly, in my opinion, paranoia. Were you getting worried for Joe's? Would he get voted out this episode?
Yeah, I definitely was, and I'm not sure like what flipped it back to Savannah. Like, I'm not sure if they really showed that. He stayed in the game, but I don't think like he's kind of sunk on this tribe as it currently exists.
Yeah, and again, we'll get to the tribe swap here in a minute, but it feels like, and again, the post immunity, the edit that they showed to us was Emily really steering Ozzy's name. Cirie was really pushing Savannah's name. Ultimately, Cirie gets her way. Do you agree with Cirie that Savannah was the most threatening on this beach? Because I agree with Cirie. I was like, hey, Joe's game. He's kind of an open book at this point in time. Ozzy, it feels like, again, they don't know Ozzy has an idol. They also don't know he has an extra vote that he gave to Cirie that we talked about. But they at least know other things about Ozzy's game. He's played 5 times now. They don't know anything about Savannah's game. So I was with Cirie on this one about her wanting to take Savannah out. I think it's actually a little bit of Cirie adapting as well, because in the past, Cirie would work with someone like Savannah, like a Parvati, if you will, like someone who can kind of be that charmer, win challenges, is good at everything pretty much. But this time, Cirie's like, I'm going to go to bat for Ozzy and try to push it on Savannah. Do you agree with Cirie's assessment that Savannah actually was the most dangerous person on that Sela Beach?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, she needed to keep Ozzy in, and Joe is as good as they are with the way he's making them play. He's a good pre-merge player to have on your beach. Like, he's not going to go hunting around for advantages. He's not going to try to blindside anybody. He's helpful in challenges. So I think you just try to deal with it. I mean, I know that Devins and Christian were a little annoyed with it, but
right. But to circle back to Christian here, because I had this in my notes, I want to hear your thoughts on this. So Devins and Joe get into a rift, as we said. Joe is trying to kind of blow off some steam. He's kind of trying to do some damage control with Devins. He's like, emotional Joe would have been like, okay, I got to vote out Devins now. I got to vote out Devins. He doesn't do that. He probably didn't have the numbers to anyways, but he cools off. He's like, okay, as long as it's not me, I'll vote whoever. And we see that is proven true because he votes out Savannah, who I thought maybe he could work with. Obviously, that's not true. So Joe does get back in their good graces, at least for this vote. They didn't leave him out of the vote. What did you make of Christian kind of being the mediator? I thought it was funny. Joe's laying on that hammock, and Christian's kind of trying to be like, okay, let's figure out this. Let's figure this out. Is there a common denominator here of these disagreements? Like, can we maybe just roll it back in? Did you like Christian kind of being able to pull Joe back? Like, would you have blindsided Joe in this episode, or do you like the fact that they did keep him around as kind of like a meat shield pre-merge guy for challenges?
It was a hilarious scene of them talking through the holes in the hammock, and then Christian rocking him back and forth. But yeah, no, I think the right strategic play is probably to keep Joe around for a little longer.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that scene was hilarious because, again, you see Christian kind of talking through the holes there. Then we get to Cirie and Emily and Savannah. The 3 girls are talking amongst themselves. Who should it be? Ozzy, Joe, Ozzy, Joe. Again, Cirie's pushing for anyone besides Ozzy. She even throws Joe's name out there. It's like, oh, well, Joe, if he thinks that lying on Survivor is this big sin, maybe he should go. And Emily's still throwing out Ozzy's name. Ultimately, it is Savannah. Let's get to Tribal Council, though, Theo, before we get to stock up, stock down. Savannah talks about her season last year. She kind of reflects on her time, which is very fresh in, obviously, all their minds because it's just 9 days after she just played. So she's probably going through just another 26 days in her mind. It's not even like a break, really. She just keeps playing. So I understood her, reflecting on how exhausting Survivor is as a whole. And it felt like, and it looked exhausting for Savannah. So maybe it's just one of those things where wrong place, wrong time, 50 coming back to back. It's just too difficult. Now, you could argue what Rizzo's doing on the other beach is making it look easy. But Savannah, it was just with this tribe, you even mentioned with the pregame alliances, maybe she just didn't have that. What did you make of this tribal council overall? Savannah kind of reflecting and kind of being exhausted. Devins and Joe kind of hashing out their differences at tribal council, and overall how it all played out.
Yeah, I think it puts the tribe back into a good spot. Like, I feel like if they win the next challenge, then if there's not a swap, then I think the Devins Joe thing is something that could be reworked over time. And yeah, I think they made the right vote, and they seemed like everyone wrote her name down, right?
So. Yeah, it was a back-to-back unanimous vote. Jenna was unanimous. Savannah was now unanimous. I think it was the right move by them. But we also now know Savannah's block vote did not factor in, so that advantage that she won on the journey, that goes home with her. I do want to get your opinion on this, though. So before Tribal Council, Devins and Christian A tells Devins about the idol that he found, and then willed to Aubrey. But Devins is chaotic. We know this is this is kind of his game. He wants to kind of make a show of things at tribal council. He's like, well, do you still have the paper? Do you still have the the little writing and stuff? And Christian's like, yeah. He's like, well, maybe we can plant a fake idol at tribal council. I was so confused as how this all was going to play out. I thought he was going to make a scene at tribal council as to like, oh, there's an idol, and make it public. But after the votes are read and Savannah goes home, Theo, we see him kind of like longingly wait to put something out of his bag, and then eventually like Christian falls over and Devins puts the thing, he stuffs it under where he's sitting at tribal council. So it's not how I envisioned it. It looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to be there for whoever loses the next tribal council. They're going to go to tribal and that's going to be there. Am I wrong in thinking that? Like it's just going to stay at tribal council, and whoever finds it is going to think it's real, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't see how like sticking out it was. I was kind of thinking that Devins was hiding it for himself to use later. Like kind of like go to tribal and like sneak it into his pocket, but in a way that like it's more obvious and someone like catches a whiff of it and they're like, look, Rick just pulled something off the tribal set. Like, is it an idol? Like, because it's not gonna. Yeah, I'm not sure, because I think the big reveal you would want, if it was a real idol and you were playing it for yourself, like you would go pick it up after everyone voted and like you would get all of that. But like it's not a real idol, so
that's what I thought he was. I thought he was waiting to see if somebody would look at him, be like, I thought he wanted someone to look at him planted so that there's deception in their mind. But ultimately, I don't think anyone saw it.
No,
if I'm not mistaken. And then say they. I don't know. Again, we don't know who's going to lose the next immunity challenge, but I'm assuming that will just stay there. Like, Jeff won't come and pick that up. It's going to stay at that little stool for tribal council. My question is, what if the people that go to tribal council next week don't have, 6 players or whatever they have now? They're down to 6 players on their tribe. Like, I don't know if they just add more stools in, or I don't know how that works, but is that just going to stay at that Rick Devins stool? And if somebody does go to tribal council next week, is that going to create some drama in the next week's tribal council, where if somebody just sits down on that seat, sees it and says, hey, is this an idol at tribal council? For the first time ever, there's a hidden immunity idol at tribal council. Could that eventually play into it? Is that maybe what he's thinking?
I hope so. I feel like it was too funny of a moment. Like they played it perfectly with Christian falling over and getting up and acting disoriented, and Jeff like genuinely asking if he was okay. So I feel like the way that whole moment, I hope it leads to a bigger moment, but
yeah, it would suck if it didn't. I mean, that would be that whole thing not going for anything. But this is how Devins plays. We both saw this. He actually got in his season 2 players to play fake idols on themselves. So if his whole thing is hopefully somebody from the next tribal council, whoever loses, goes here, finds it, plays it, and it's fake, or plays whatever. I don't know if they have beads or whatever. I don't actually know if they put anything in that little paper, but he actually hid something on that stool. So if somebody finds it, which I think somebody will, because they wouldn't show us if somebody, like, it's going to end up mattering, I think. But we know it doesn't actually have it. There actually is nothing there. It's a fake. Everything it is fake. So it's not like it's going to actually, save somebody, but it might just make somebody look bad on their way out, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a big work if all it is to try to like have a gotcha moment on somebody, but I get that's just Rick Devins.
It's just Rick Devins. He's chaotic. It's a chaotic season. He's going to try to make somebody. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to shift the dynamics in the next tribal council. I have no idea, but I hope it's interesting. Like I'm actually hoping for some drama in that department. So yeah, Savannah goes home. Let's talk about like an obituary of Savannah. If we were to say, okay, what did she do wrong? What was her downfall in this game? We kind of talked about her, her journey as being like a big threatening. Even though she won the journey, her reaction was really threatening already. Could she have done anything different? And ultimately, what was the thing that got Savannah out?
Yeah, I mean, people were suspicious of her coming into the game, and then she gave people more reason to be suspicious when she came back from the journey and lied about not having an advantage. And from that point on, like, even being on the advantage, like, she missed some time where she could have been socializing. So she came back, and then, like, she was, like, ostracized really before the game even started. And then she wasn't there on the beach at the beginning. And then when she finally got there, she really didn't do anything to get into anyone's good graces.
No, and then similar to Jenna, it felt like she was just throwing Sari's name out a lot. It didn't look like she was getting in with anyone. I know she tried to start the 4-person alliance with her and Devins and Joe. And who am I leaving out in that other one? It was her, Devins, Joe, and I'm forgetting the 4th person. Yes, I think it was. Yeah, but either way, we know that it had no chance. It had no grounds to even stand on because Devins and Joe didn't have the trust there anyway. So that was kind of like she couldn't actually get a strong 4, even though she tried a little bit. Like, it didn't look like that was in the workings because she picked the wrong people to try to start a 4-person thing with. And again, throwing Cerie's name out when she's already working with Ozzy, try to pull in a Devins when he's already working with Emily and Christian. So like you mentioned, maybe the pre-game alliances things, just she had no chance. Maybe she was DOA, dead on arrival. Either way, tough season for her. Again, she just won, so it's not a big deal. She got her win 9 days ago, so she's doing just fine. Ultimately, though, this is how we end every Wednesday reaction video. Stock up, stock down on each person's tribe. So we'll start with Sela, who just obviously lost Savannah. Who do you think is stock up after this? It doesn't necessarily be after this episode, but somebody that you think is in a better position now than you didn't think 2 hours ago.
Yeah, I think it was another good episode for Cerie. Like, I think she's now
she's
really
back.
under the radar while also controlling the game, which is that's where she thrives.
Yeah, she's back in feel like she's now she's kind of working her things now. She's kind of doing typical Cerie things, and like no one's talking about Cerie anymore. It's like, oh, there goes that. And then stock down for Sela. Before you say stock down, I think Cerie is the answer here. I think Cerie had a really big bounce back episode. I thought Christian had just another good episode, but not like his stock was already up. I think we both agree he was already he was my stock up winner from episode 1. So I don't think he's going to be back to back stock up. He just a really good episode from him. I thought Cerie was the big, okay, this is the Cerie we saw. Like she's already working her magic. Now she has an advantage. So whatever your stock was about Cerie, and how dangerous she already was, well, now guess what? She has an extra vote on top of her already great social standing with everybody and her great strategic mind. She now has an advantage that was given to her by Ozzy. So I think really good episode from Cerie. Stock down on this tribe, though. So is it Joe?
It has to be Joe. Like, there was a way that this season needed to go if Joe was gonna end up get to the end and have any win equity, and it's just not going that way. Like, we were kind of getting into the idea of Joe maybe doing something before the game started, and I just don't. There's no way that he's making a deep run.
We talked about this. X and I did on our buy or sell. I was kind of selling Joe's episode 1 because I thought he was so paranoid in episode 1 about any duo being like Kyle and Camilla.
Yeah,
and I don't think he was duped that much by Kyle and Camilla. I just thought that he didn't know how strong their duo was. His duo was public with Eva. Kyle and Camilla were just kind of working the shadows. I don't think anyone knew how close they really were. And that's not like he didn't necessarily get duped. Like Kyle took him to the end. Like I don't think it was like he got played the whole season. I just think if he rewatched it, if he watched the season live, he saw, okay, wow, I did not know how close they were. And maybe that's not like bad gameplay. It's just maybe, but I don't think you have to be overly paranoid on your second time out. I think that he's trying to overcorrect things that I don't think were that big of flaws in his game. So I'm with you. I think the stock down is Joe. However, I don't think he's totally dead yet because, and we'll get to this, there is a tribe swap coming in the next episode. We see the trailer of it. So maybe Joe links up with somebody that on the other tribe that maybe would work with him, and maybe he's in a better position. I don't know. But it seems like on this trial, on this beach, he's in a bad spot right now. So Sela, we talked about that. Kalo, who's stock up? We didn't see that much of Kalo, but who do you think is a stock up for Kalo right now?
Yeah, I bet his stock was up last week too, but I'm going with Mike White again due to his agility on the balance beam. Just
he had a really good episode. I mean, he was he's kind of doing the thing where he's narrating, but he's just been like he narrated the whole coach thing.
Yeah,
of when coach got his cramps in the ocean, but it's just Mike White's just hilarious. I'm gonna go with Jonathan on this one. I thought overall I knew he'd be good at the challenges. That's not nothing has shocked me so far about Jonathan in the physically. But I think socially he's doing a better job. I think he's doing a much better job socially. Like he said, coach is my number one. So I want to link up with coach. I don't think he's making it so obvious. He's out fishing with coach, but everyone on that tribe feels likes coach. I think Jonathan's doing a really good job of kind of I think he in his mind views that he has coach in his pocket. Whether he's right or wrong, I don't know, but I think he's doing a good job of kind of letting coach feel like he's the dictator of the tribe. But Jonathan's really the most important maybe person in the tribe, obviously because of the challenges and whatnot. But I think Jonathan had another good episode.
He's so dominant too. There was a point watching the episode where you can just you're watching, you're he might just win every individual immunity if he gets there. He might just win every individual immunity and go to final tribal.
But at that point, it would be so dangerous, Theo. So I think honestly in his mind, maybe again, it's impossible to not he can't be throwing challenges, obviously. But if he's this dominant, Theo, it'll be final 12, and everyone would be like, we can't let Jonathan hang around, right? He's just so good at these challenges. We have to get him out immediately. I think he needs. The only thing I would say is because he's going to be better than everybody, regardless. By default, he could be better than every one of these challenges. But for the tribal immunities, you want to race through these and win these for your tribe. But I think once it is the physical portion of the game, if you look so dominant to the point where it's oh, we have to get you out immediately, like that could be worrisome. But if he's doing a better job socially, then it may not matter. Like maybe he'll integrate himself with the right people, and it'll be able to, even when he loses an individual immunity in the individual portion of the game, maybe he'll still be able to survive if he's made those social connections. Stock down on Kalo though. Who is it?
I think it's got to be Tiffany. Like she was a big wild card in the sense of like kind of why was she picked for this season by the Survivor producers, and just hasn't really given us anything through the first 2 episodes that would justify kind of why she was brought back for this season. So yeah, it's socked down for that reason.
I think Tiffany's a good answer. I would say Tiffany or maybe Chrissy. I don't know. I mean, the only thing we got from this episode was Chrissy's coming off a little bit too hard. I don't know. I would say the Chrissy D Tiffany thing. I don't know. I think that D is obviously threatening. I don't think she did anything in episode 2 to kind of lessen her threat level. But here's the thing that I did want to bring up. Did anyone have D as the last winner left on the bingo card? I mean, we have Kyle out in episode 1, medevac, and then Savannah, the other winner. The only winner left is D. Is her target getting any bigger or smaller? Like she's the only winner on the island at this point.
Yeah, it hasn't seemed like that's been talked about with her yet, but we'll see.
We'll see. I think my stock down would be Chrissy, but I don't have much to go off of. Tiffany is invisible. Is that good or bad? I have no idea. But I would say Chrissy or Tiffany, one of those two. And then obviously D, if she gets in a tribe swap, maybe. I don't know. But let's finish off with Vatu here. Stock up for Vatu.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Rizzo for me, but I want to shout out Q as well because he's been much better on this season than I was anticipating.
I was going to second that. I was going to say it's either Rizzo or Q. I'm going to lean Q here. Again, I know he doesn't have his vote still for the first tribal, and that could be big if it is a tribe swap. If it's in like a 4-3 or whatever it is. So I think there's 21 people left now because there's 3 people gone. So it's going to be 3 tribes of 7 probably. So if he's in like a 4-3 thing and he's got no vote, he could be in some trouble. Overall, I've been shocked by how good Q has been through 2 episodes. So for me, my stock up, the highest person who's gotten their stock up would be Q, just because I didn't have that much. I mean, I drafted him with the last pick in the draft, but it wasn't like, and I was like, Q could surprise some people. He's got a better attitude this time around. So I like Q for sure. Rizzo's in a good spot. I'm stock up on Colby too. I mean, I just think he's been so impressive through 2 episodes. I don't know who I would say stock down for this episode. I mean, I don't think you can say Aubrey because she found. I mean, I guess she has an idol now. Who would be the stock down for this episode for Vatu? It feels like they all had pretty good episodes.
Yeah,
maybe Genevieve just because she's playing so hard.
Yeah, that would have to be the one. Yeah.
I still think Genevieve though, like she's one Ozzy being blindsided away from having real power in this game because she's in a power alliance, and then if she has an idol, it's like she's now dictating things. So I'm not even like that down on. I think that is the right answer. Maybe Angelina.
It's kind of like Angelina is just kind of like I think we were hoping she would come back and do more, and she's kind of just been the same that she was on David vs Goliath. But
yeah, you saw the only thing we got from Angelina today is that she's done nothing at camp. Like he called Rizzo lazy. He called Angelina a statue. Like she just stands there, doesn't help at all, doesn't do anything. So maybe that would hurt. But I guess we'll get to this right now. Then the trailer for next week signifies that we are getting a tribe swap. I was going to come on the show and be like, usually episode 3 or 4, we usually get something that happens. Well, after 2 episodes, we're going right to a tribe swap. So immediately there's going to be 21 people left. So that's probably going to be 3 tribes of 7. I think is the only way you can split it up. What do you make of the tribe swap? We don't know who's on the next tribes, but who does this possibly benefit? You'd have to assume somebody on the bottom, but how could this possibly shake up the game?
Yeah,
with the tribal lines blurring.
Who would benefit the most? It's got to be Joe from Sela. Who do you think this would benefit most from Kalo though? I think
for Kalo, I think maybe D, just because this tribe I think has the notion of she's so dangerous. Maybe if D was to link up with like, I'm trying to think here, maybe a Emily. She was with Emily on season 45, so I don't know actually. For Kalo, it's interesting. Maybe if Mike White got on a tribe with like Christian, they could do their thing or something like that. I don't know. I think everyone's in a pretty good spot. Camilla, at this point, she doesn't want to play with Joe. She doesn't have Kyle. So I don't know. It's weird with past relationships. I don't think Tiffany, if she's on a tribe swap with Q, would have any interest in working with Q. So I would say no with Tiffany. I don't know. I think it's everyone in this tribe, I think, is in a pretty good spot. Maybe Chrissy, maybe Charlie. I don't know.
Yeah, I was the players with the boomerangs too, because right now it's not in your fate. But if you're now if Genevieve is now on the beach with Ozzy, she now has control over the blind side,
and
she
could
give her an idol.
Great point. So if Genevieve, I think that would be my benefit for Vatu here. I think if Genevieve, Aubrey too, I guess you can say, if Aubrey can finally link up with somebody. But for Genevieve, if she gets on a tribe swap with Ozzy and she could get Ozzy out and then blindsided, she can then get the immunity idol from Ozzy. So I think Vatu is the most interesting one. I think, for Genevieve and for Aubrey, I think a tribe swap is huge for either one of those two. If they're still together or if they're separate, I don't know. But I think for those two women, it'd be the biggest. I think for Colby, he's in a good spot. I think Colby's doing a really good job socially. Q, Rizzo, same thing. I don't know if a tribe swap could benefit Rizzo because, again, nobody knows Rizzo on any beach. It's not like it's just his beach that doesn't know him. Like, Kalo doesn't know Rizzo's game. Sela doesn't know Rizzo's game. So maybe I would say for Rizzo, it's like maybe not a beneficial because right now he's in a power spot as like the power broker, like you said. Maybe he wouldn't be if he's on a different tribe.
Yeah.
With
he
like
kind of made a
Christian and
bad
Devin.
first impression initially too, which he did overcome it, but you do
Yeah.
wonder if he did like that could happen again. And now like instead of not going to tribal for like
The
5
first two,
days, like if he's
Maybe
going
he-
that night, yeah.
Yeah, and then Q and Colby not having their votes. Maybe it doesn't matter because he's on a different tribe with people who do have votes. Like maybe if he gets on a tribe with like a Devins and a Christian, maybe he finds the fake idol and it's like, oh, it's one of those things. So I don't know, but it's going to be very, very interesting. And yeah, you did say Rizzo made a kind of a course correction. He's like, I came on too strong out the gates. Now he's like been roped back in. But overall, I thought it was a really good episode again. Not the premiere, but the premiere was unbelievable. 3 hours of great television. We got more information in this episode. Any final thoughts as we sign off here at minute 58?
It was just fun getting like stuff from around camp, which I feel like that was kind of stuff we haven't had as much of. Like we saw some fires being built, some fishing. We saw Christian have a little incident. Like I like that.
I like that too. It's a little bit like we have not gotten much of that in the new era. Like you've said, it's like more of like an OG way of like they're actually showing us camp life, which we didn't get much of. It's almost like that was taken out in favor of like journeys and other things that just like production kind of shoehorns in. But like we got some actual like natural camp life talk, and that I thought was really fun. So I second that. I think the journeys are all whatever. It's I'm not a big fan of it. Like people like them, I guess, but I like more of the the OG camp life. Like let's see what's happening at camp because we don't always get that. You're right. We get a lot of overextended challenges and whatnot, but overall, I had a really good time with that episode tonight. But yeah, signing off here. That's Theo. This is Mike. We'll be back next week, same time to recap episode 3. See ya.